Ram's birthplace is the oldest and most complicated issue in India's history, and if people talk about it even today, then they become sensitive. Due to this one dispute, not only in Ayodhya or in a state, but throughout India suffered riots. And thousands of people lost their lives, and this was such a case where Lord Ram fought for his case himself. A proper file is created in the Supreme Court. And I'm sure that you would surely know about this issue, but in the 1,405 pages of the judgment of the Supreme Court, there's such details that you'll understand the actual reason why this was continuing from the 16th century until today. I've read this entire judgment, and in this whole video, you won't hear such a thing from my mouth, which is out of the judgment of the Supreme Court or government report or news or out of the Archaeological Survey's report. The reason behind making this video is that, for once, keeping our biases on the side, we'll look at the facts to see why all these things happened. What were the reasons behind them? And what does the Supreme Court actually say? So in India, this is Uttar Pradesh, and in Uttar Pradesh, this area is Ayodhya district. Earlier, its name was Faizabad district, but now it has been changed to Ayodhya district. So, in Ayodhya district, beside the Saryu River, there are 2.77 acres of land. The plot number is 583, regarding which India's biggest and oldest land dispute in its history started. And on today's date, Ram Temple is being constructed here. And now, in the news, you'll be looking at this map for Ram Temple. The entire green part that you're looking at is an area of 67.7 acres of land. But the disputed area isn't this green part. The disputed area is 2.77 acres of land, which is also called plot number 583. Even this 0.313 acre area is the actual disputed area. Here itself, the Ram Temple is being constructed. Now you might be questioning why it wasn't made on the entire 67.7 acres of land, and why in that specific area? So, wait a little. You'll understand all the things step by step. So, it was the time of 500 BC and Hindi legendary books like Ramayana and Bhavishya Puran. In fact, scripts of Lomesh Ramayana. If we add all these details, then Ayodhya was the capital of the kingdom of Kosala. So from here, Lord Ram's son, Maharaja Kush, constructed the first Ram temple in Lord Ram's birthplace in Ayodhya in memory of his father, and then, with generations, their successors ruled this area. So, 44 kings ruled this area in their generation. And the last king was Brihadbala, who ruled Ayodhya. In his time, the Mahabharata had started, and in the Battle of the Mahabharata, Brihadbala was led by Abhimanyu, and after his death, the condition of Ayodhya and Ram Temple got worse. It was about to be converted into ruins. Now, after this comes the year 57 AD. Ujjain's king, Maharaja Vikramaditya, reaches Ayodhya for hunting and meets Santo. When he gets to know its history, he is very impressed. After this, he reconstructs the Ram Temple and the city of Ayodhya. So, at his time, Ram Temple and the infrastructure of the entire Ayodhya were heavily developed, and the judgment of the Supreme Court about this on page 673 was mentioned as well. Now, everything was going pretty well until here. Then comes the year 1526. The Battle of Panipat had occurred. Muhammad Babur defeats Ibrahim Lodi in the Battle of Panipat, and after this, on April 20, 1526, Babur enters India. Now things change from here because, at that time, if there was a ruler who used to control an area or win it, then the other religion present there. All their religious structures were replaced by the structures of their own religious faith, to show the dominance of its own kingdom. And the inscriptions during the Mughals contained all this information, like Tariq-i-Avad by Muhammad Qasim Akbar and I-Masud by Abd al-Qadir. So, 2 years later, Babur, after conquering India in 1528, calls his commander Mir Baki and caught Ram Chandra, a village in Ayodhya with 2.77 acres of land, asks him to construct a mosque there. And Ram Temple was already there, which was destroyed for the construction. Wait a little for it, and we'll discuss it further. So, the mosque was constructed, and the name of the mosque was Babri Masjid. The Babri Masjid was constructed in Kota Ram Chandra of Faizabad district, which is now called Ayodhya district, and in its Sadr Tehsil, Pargana Haveli Awadh. The painters of that time had painted this mosque. It looked like this from the river. The location of this mosque is very important. All of these things happened because of it. So let me show you this location on the map as well. This map was used in court. The X, Y, and Z marked on this map indicate that the mosque was constructed here. Why are Sita Rasoe and Ram Chabutra written in it? We'll discuss it further. When this Babri Masjid was constructed at that time, the local people around the village had shown anger in a suppressive voice that this was the birthplace of Ram. But at that time, nothing had happened. Now the Mughals were ruling generation after generation, and until 1857, the era of the Mughals was on the brink of ending. And at this time, one thing had happened that was very important for this case. There were 7 Englishmen who had come to travel in the northern and western parts of India, and they used to make their travel notes. In these travel notes, they used to write about Ayodhya, Ram Temple, and how people pray there. They used to write about everything. William Foster, in his book Early Travels in India, mentioned it. And on page 663 of the Judgment, you'll get to know about it. These are travelers who wrote some notes while traveling in Ayodhya. There's some statements that you can pause and read, which they wrote while traveling. The travel notes of Joseph Tiefenthaler and William Finch were very important. Many things were written, such as that first, there was the Ram Temple and how they saw people praying there. All these things are mentioned in it. Joseph had made the map of that particular time, and I'm telling all these things because, further, it plays a very important role in the judgment of the Supreme Court, and works as written proof of the existence of Ram Temple now. The Mughals were getting weak in India, and at the same time, Sawai Jai Singh was very concerned regarding Ram Temple. He was also attached to this temple. So, when the Mughals became weak and the era of Britishers was starting, at that time Sawai Jai Singh, just after the mosque, bought an area and constructed a Ram Chabutra. So, since Hindus couldn't go inside, at least they could pray from outside. So, Hindus used to pray in this Ram Chabutra facing towards the central dome of the mosque. This is the original map. The X, Y, and Z marked areas were the mosque, and on this side was the Ram Chabutra Sita Raswa, Hanuman Dwar. Hindus started praying in this entire area, and now you might be thinking that the NEUHOPAJJ, and L, what is this line? An incident had occurred due to which Britishers had made this compulsion. Now that incident will continue. So, what happens is that after the Chabutra was constructed at the same place, on one side there was a namaz area, and on the other hand, Lord Ram was being worshipped. Now, after this, the era of the Mughals has ended, and Britishers had entered India. So, when Britishers came, India's group reported their issue regarding Ram Temple. They started saying that this mosque had replaced Ram Temple, which existed earlier, and the Britishers were being troubled by the local people. So, in 1838, the British appointed their administrator, Robert Montgomery Martin, to survey this area and report on what was previously present, and submit a report related to it. Martin now completes his survey and makes a report in 3 parts. In this, Martin said that in the disputed land on which Hindus and Muslims are fighting over the place where the mosque persists currently, earlier there was a temple, and he said that there was a temple, but the mosque that has been constructed Was it made after demolishing the temple or in a plain area? Nothing can be said about this. And the exact language that he used was that you could pause it and read. You'll get it on pages 669, 671 of the judgment. Now, after hearing the report, they raised their voice even more. They said that this is the birthplace of Ram Lalla, and this Babri Masjid is constructed on it. So, these things go on, and then comes the year 1853.